If our children are the future and a foundation for a stronger South Africa is based on education, and the key to that education is our educational system, but it doesn't unlock because 5 years on, our online registration system is still failing. Or is it? On today's episode, we want to process the current climate of the system, the current problems, the supporting evidence, and our possible solution going forward. Next to me, as always, Annemarie Meyer.
Thank you.
Proud mother of 2 boys. She's had to use the system.
Been through this.
Yes, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it.
Frustrations reached boiling point yet again outside the Dani Milan Large School in the north of Pretoria.
With all the chaos and confusion around school placements, tensions are running high.
This morning, as parents voiced their anger over the non-placement of their children.
5 years after the system was launched, it's still not working properly, according to a News 24 article.
I used the system 2 years after it was launched.
Okay.
And to me, and I'm computer literate, it was a struggle.
You spend your life on a computer.
Definitely, the whole day. And it was a struggle, because initially you couldn't get in. Okay. Then messages came out at that point in time. That was in 2018. So messages came out to say, okay, just go back in, you need to register. The registration was a process. So people complain about exactly the same thing currently. Now, once done, you don't need to go in again, and I've got nothing. I don't have an ID number to register now, to test the system now. But at that point in time was a teething problem. And eventually I applied at the 3 local schools in my area. So remember, they still place closest to your residential address, or you need to get close to your office space. So either I need to decide, at that point in time, will I need to get affidavit from the company to tell them what my hours are, to enroll my child closer to my office. So I decided I'm just going to choose the local schools close to home. And finally, it took me about 2 weeks to get up. Now I know, at that point in time, there was extreme lot of tension where parents got annoyed with the system because you can't get in. It's a constant struggle. It takes a lot of daytime doing this and even nighttime. Finally, I got it in and I applied at 3 schools. Following day, certified copies back to the school. By the time it opened up, the new school year started, I still didn't get my email. So now what do you do as a parent? And that's exactly what happened this year again. You just rock up there. You stand there in front of that gate and you say, I want to know. So what did I do? I took his hand. I bought clothes from the closest school and I just went there. So his name weren't called out. Sitting, they sit, their names get called out and then they get divided 2 classrooms. And he were one of and he wasn't the only one. There were a handful of kids just sitting there. So luckily enough, a week later, by just dropping off. Nowadays, they can't do it anymore. So that is what they tried to do.
But I want to backtrack there. What happened a week later? Because he doesn't have a school to go to now. What now?
Eventually, not the one that I bought clothing for, they placed him at the school. A different school. 5 kilometers further away from my residence. So then the whole fight started. Okay, I managed to get him in and a happy ending. But can everyone do it? So if you stay in a rural area and you need to take a taxi every day, I can imagine why this is the outcome of our South African school system. So that's the one thing. I can work the system. I know how. I do have my own transport to drop off the documentation. And I can go there every day for a week to make sure he gets placed.
But still no feedback.
But no feedback. So the school eventually assisted. Okay. But what about the parent that can't do that up and down driving? And that's the problem. And that is where we get groups of people locked in a basement because they don't want camera action. And that's a problem Because the system is really a problem. It's still a problem. And there's a lot of people. And then on the other hand, we've got a problem for people that just didn't use the system. Now, currently, as we sit here, there's only a couple of days left for late registrations.
On that, can we just process the timelines? And I've got it here. The GDE, the Gauteng Department of Education, said applications will open on July, and this is official data from their website, on July 22nd, 2022.
It's a couple of months.
Okay. At 8 o'clock and close on 19th of August, 2022. Okay, so that's a long time, at midnight. They reopened late applications for grade 1 and grade 8 for the 2023 academic year on 20th December and will close on 31st of January.
That period in between, that is the period they allow themselves to place these kids.
Which kids? Are these the kids that perhaps the parents never use the system to get them registered?
They won't know about it, so late applications is used for that.
Okay.
And we've still got a lot of parents that just don't do the application. But for all the ones that did use the system, so as from the day they close up until they do open up for late registration again, that is the time frame they've got to place these kids. But my question, you still didn't receive an email. My email address was correct. It's been double checked. I've made phone calls to them. So that's the flaw in the system. Is that period they close to place these kids? Or is it just because our schools are overpopulated?
So that leads to a different problem. But on the application, I just want to process the expectation. And here's my question.
A lot of documents.
I'm going to process all of them. So if you're about to go onto this wild journey, listen up. Parents and guardians must upload or submit certified copies of the following documents within 7 days of applying. And this is parent and child ID or passport, refugee permit, asylum seeker permit, permanent resident permit, study permit, South African birth certificate, proof of home address, proof of work address, latest school report and clinic card, immunization report for grade 1s only. So all these documents need to be submitted, okay, after the registration within 7 days. Okay, my question is this. When the GDE, Gauteng Department of Education, comes back to you and says, we didn't receive all your documents, okay, therefore your application was unsuccessful. How can you hold them accountable? But I did send them. Because I sent them, you didn't receive them. Or is there a proper accountability system to say, this is what we received? How does that interaction go?
The whole system, to me, and again, I'm speaking on behalf of year 2018, but all the parents that I do speak to now, they still sit with the same problem. So I've got the same question, but at that point in time, you can upload. If you upload, that's terrific, because then the system, and you've got proof thereof. If you drop it off at the school, did you get the school to sign?
And if you didn't, what accountability falls back on the school?
Yeah, the school they need to make sure to send it in, especially for grade 1, because you need the card. Well, you don't need that in grade 8, but you need the latest school report then. If you don't have it, you can't sign up your child. So that is the previous year, because you don't have that current year yet. And that's also a problem, because by the time you start applying, you don't even know if your child is going to pass or not. So what does it say about our system? So I need to hand in a grade 6 report to apply for grade 8. Does it make sense?
Yeah. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The other issue I want to raise is now we've got all these kids that don't have a school to go to. So the quality of education not only depends on the quality of the educator, in my opinion, but the quality of the environment or the circumstance. So optimum is maybe 30 in a class. You know, how many kids are in a class today? 45, 50, 60? So is your child, is our kids receiving half the quality of education because it has to be spread so thin? So is that attentiveness there? You know, if I take myself, for example, I struggle to write neatly, okay? But when I went to school, I went to a public school. I never went to a private school. I went to a public primary school and a public high school. But we had the teacher that stood next to me and said, no, this is how you write cursive. Practice, let me see it. Go home and write this 100 times. Come back to me. Is the attentiveness there when there is twice or sometimes 3 times the amount of kids in one classroom? That teacher, it doesn't matter how good the teacher is. The quality of education is not going to be to standard, in my opinion.
I cannot even imagine how they deal with 30 kids in a class. 30 kids. We've got a company policy that a certain department for one manager can't exceed a certain amount of people. Now, can you imagine young children, energetic, and it's 30. So we've got a thing saying 30 kids. So now, exactly as what you're saying, now we run up to 40 and 60 kids. You can't expect it. I really think go back a couple of years and go back to 20 to 25. That will help our education system.
But do we have the schools?
We don't have
the
it.
capacity?
We don't
so then
have
we
it.
can't go back to that.
No, we don't have it. But these teachers, I can promise you that. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
We don't have the buildings.
We don't
have the space.
The infrastructure.
The infrastructure. That's where our problem is. Yeah, build maybe more, but the less money they can pay, government pay to a school, the happier.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not the one to say,
That's
but
a
I can see
bigger can
how,
of worms if we need to open that.
Oh, definitely. Why do schools need to run projects to save money up, to get money in? Obviously for a better lifestyle.
Of course.
To build something. But isn't that part of government? Isn't that something our kids deserve? We do pay school fees.
What is effectively being done with our money?
Of course, you still buy books. Most schools. Even if it's a public school. Most books you still buy.
Yeah, agree. So, I mean, in closing, as parents, we also have to accept ownership. Okay.
And do apply.
We can't just pull out a victim card out of the back pocket and say, no, the system doesn't work. Have you applied? Have you taken the necessary steps? You know, the procrastination factor also needs to be, raised.
I agree.
If registrations open on a certain date and close on a certain date, be proactive. If you're going to have energy to go and fight, for your child to be enrolled in a school, have that same intensity once that registration date is given and it's open. Have the intensity throughout. Now, I'm not saying that people that did have the intensity didn't end up there, but in my opinion, the likelihood of you ending up at the end, if you are not procrastinating and going on the first or the second day and applying, making the effort, the chances are smaller. That's one angle. Second angle is, I'm still processing, government has access to funds. They have access to the best of the best in terms of software development, in terms of hosting. I mean, you can be 300,000 applications, per day. If you are properly equipped, you can handle it.
Definitely.
Who is looking after the website? Why is it crashing? Where's the accountability conversation with the host? You designed this program. We gave you the number. This is what the load. So I always, off camera, with our team, I always see, our input as a highway. If we are going to target a 2-lane highway in terms of input, so our marketing spend is X, we can handle 2 lanes of highway. If we increase our marketing spend, that means we're going to put more traffic through that highway. We need to build another lane. So in our environment if we're going to get more leads, we need more salespeople to handle the leads. So if you are going to be receiving 300,000 applications, make sure the bandwidth is enough so that the system doesn't continuously crash. Who is holding that person accountable? And we can't just say no. That's one of the things that I've seen lately. If we can fix our system is down in South Africa, our country will be a first world country in a week, just like that. Who is holding that person accountable? I'm not going to accept this BS of our system is down. You knew when the opening date was and when the closing date is. We told you the bandwidth. You won the tender or you got elected to build the system for us. Your problem. Fix it now. Otherwise, you lose the contract and we go with the next person. Do we have a backup?
And the worst is, our government have 6 years to plan for new schools because a birth certificate gets issued. We know exactly
It's a valid point.
how many kids is born in this year. So you've got an average to see when they go to school. 6 years to plan this. So why aren't there schools? Why aren't we ready? You've got 6 years to plan to say, guys, we've got a problem. Our whole education system, we've got a problem because we've doubled up on the amount of births on the last year. We've got 6 years. Those kids got to go to school. They're in school for 12 years.
And an additional 5 years after that. So 6 years to go to school. So yeah, we can plan primary schools. And then we've got another 5 years to increase capacity on high schools. It's a very good point that you make.
And now suddenly, oh, but we don't have enough schools.
100%. 100%. Look, this is a very passionate topic
Especially for me.
For both of us, but especially for you because you've got living experience on the system failing us. But, you know, we can't discount the fact that procrastination is also out there. So, you know, our solution is make sure that you show up early. You register. If there's a problem, raise it immediately. When you hand in documents, ask for a signed acceptance copy. You know, make sure that you take screenshots. Make sure that you upload all the documents that are required. And be proactive. And from the government side, you know, hold the people accountable. The person that's responsible for building, maintaining, and making sure the system runs smoothly, hold that person accountable. And do we have a competitor to that person? So look, you know, we've had 5 or 6 failures. Your KPI is you may only be down X amount of hours. You've exceeded those hours. Unfortunately, the contract stops here. Second player comes into play, and now you handle this. You know, do we have those conversations? I don't know. Now, perhaps somebody that does can leave us a comment. And I hope you guys enjoyed this content. And if it's thought-provoking and it makes you think and it makes you as excited as we are, please leave us a comment, as well as the like button.
And please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell.
Thank you very much. Take care and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.